A high-quality compressor, such as Live's built-in compressor device, is one of the most important utilities in your mixing toolkit. It's also one of the most easily misunderstood. In this movie, you'll learn how to get the most out of compressor and learn some advanced compression techniques such as sidechaining. Along the way, we'll also explore how sidechaining can be used as a powerful sound design tool in Live's auto filter. This set consists of 3 tracks, with clips arranged into scenes that allow you to quickly try out a few combinations of drums, bass, and pad elements. For now, we'll be working with the drums clip alone. Trigger this clip's play button to start it. As the clip is playing, let's add a compressor device to the drum track. To do this, open Live's device browser. Then open the Audio Effects folder and navigate to the compressor device. Drag and drop the compressor anywhere on the drums track to insert it. It will then appear in the track view after the drum rack. Since the default settings don't have much of an effect on this signal, you can also try out some of the included compressor presets to get a quick overview of the kinds of sounds available. Click on the Hot Swap button to enable compressor for preset hot swapping. This will also unfold the compressor's presets in the device browser. You can now go down the list and double-click the presets to quickly replace the current settings. In technical terms, a compressor is part of a category of effects known as dynamic range processors. The dynamic range of a signal is the ratio between the loudest and quietest portions of the signal. A compressor's job is to reduce the dynamic range of a signal by lowering the volume of the loud portions. Here is a section of an uncompressed audio waveform with a large dynamic range. The same audio after very extreme compression with a greatly reduced dynamic range. Think of a compressor as an automatic mixing assistant, whose only job is to turn down the volume when it exceeds a certain level. This level is known as the threshold. The amount of volume reduction is determined by the ratio, with higher ratios resulting in more volume reduction and thus less dynamic range. The speed at which a compressor begins working after a signal exceeds the threshold is determined by its attack time, while the release adjusts how quickly the level returns to normal after the signal drops below the threshold. Threshold, ratio, attack, and release are the most important parameters for shaping your signal's dynamic range, and they can be found on almost all types of compressors. Try experimenting with these and any other of compressor's controls before moving on. For a detailed overview of all of compressor's parameters, we recommend reading the section on compressor in the Live Audio Effect Reference chapter of the manual. Normally, a compressor lowers the level of a signal when its volume exceeds the threshold. In some cases, though, we might want to lower the volume of a signal when another signal's level exceeds the threshold. This technique is known as ducking and is accomplished by using sidechain compression. For example, when bass lines and kick drums have a lot of frequency overlap, the bass line can often drown out the kick drum's attack. But by using the kick drum's level to trigger a compressor on the bass line, we can cause the bass's level to duck to make room for the kick drum. To learn how to set this up, start by triggering the second scene, called Drums plus Bass. As you can hear, there are some pretty serious problems with our mix. The bass line is much too loud in relation to the drums and seems to take energy and punch away from the mix. We can try turning the bass channel's level down, but this seems to quickly make it too quiet. What's the problem? To understand why we're having such a hard time mixing, let's take a look at the actual frequency content of our material by clicking on the title bar of the master track to select it. This will reveal a spectrum device in the master track's track view. Spectrum is a tool that gives a real-time look at the strength of individual frequencies in your audio signal. Use the mixer's solo buttons to alternate between soloing the drums and bass tracks while looking at Spectrum's display. This should show you where the dominant frequencies are in each track. It's easy to see that both tracks produce a large peak in one particular frequency area. If we mouse over this peak in Spectrum's display, its amplitude, frequency, and note name appear in a small box in the bottom left corner. Now we know where the problem is in our mix. The kick drum and bass line both have a large amount of energy, around 43 Hz, causing them to interfere with each other. But how can we fix it?